Yo, 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 what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with another live stream. So before we get started, you already know what to do. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. Smash the like button, share this video out to all of your followers, and let's get it cracking, all right? Shout out to each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you who is here. If you guys can hear me, please give me a thumbs up or a radiation emoji in the chat. If you cannot hear me or things look and sound bad, please give me a thumbs down or an angry face. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to shout out everybody who is in the building early, all right? Shout out to my man, Carlton Way. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. Good to see you as always, Brooklyn Queen. Make sure that you guys do what Brooklyn Queen is saying in her post right there. Shout out to my man, DeAndre. I appreciate you and Brooklyn Queen liking, forcing. Make sure you guys show them some love. We definitely need that. All right. Shout out to Tedra. Shout out to my man, Mike Mellis John. What's good with it? And shout out to everyone who has not said anything yet. All right. So how many people heard there was an attack on an ICE agent at an ICE facility? We're going to be going into that. And it sparked a war on words. And I got bad news for you. As usual, my computer updated. So a lot of the extra stuff that I had for Crimecast is not there. But shout out to Win Loser Rug, because Win Loser Rug dropped a tweet into the Discord, and we are going to talk about that tweet. All right. We are going to talk about these ratchet crimes because there is a uptick in ratchet crimes. All right. And, you know, there's an uptick in the ratchet crimes. And, you know, anytime content fodder is given, that content fodder is going to be used. So on Crimecast, if you did not catch it, we talked about this massive amount of quote unquote mass shootings over the 4th of July weekend. How many people heard about that? Just a ridiculous amount of mass shootings. All right. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into that. If you're not subscribed to Crimecast, please take a moment, subscribe to Crimecast. If the mods could put the link to Crimecast in the chat, that'd be great. Shout out to Detroit 313. What's good with it, bro? We got to take a look at this. We got to take a look at this because we got to figure out exactly what is going on here, because this is just wild. All right. Let's take a look here.
New phenomenon you need to be aware of in today's liberal light on crime world.
Teen takeovers across the country. Spontaneous.
Now let me ask you guys this question. What is a teen takeover? What is a teen takeover? Somebody let me know in the comment section. What is a teen takeover? Shout out to Tedra. I hope you enjoyed it. Shout out to Tedra. Let me ask you this question: Would you recommend people checking it out, taking a peek? Let me know what you think. hey, that was fun. That was fun. Shout out to everybody watching. If you guys haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media.
Teen takeovers are popping up. It's when large groups of teens plan to meet in a mall, a movie theater, amusement park, and cause trouble.
By now, you may have seen the teen takeover in Lakeview late Monday night. Many here jumped off the...
Hey, what is this? What is this? Again, this is the same thing that I asked last time. Shout out to AB Promotions. What is this and why is it happening? I bet you Detroit 313 and Carlton Way got some opinions on this. Let them rip.
Teen takeover in Lakeview late Monday night. Many here jumped off the red line at Belmont, blocking traffic, jumping on cars. No violence, but disruption and damage.
CPD officers worked to control the crowd and move them out of the area, but the teens left behind a path of destruction. People were horrified by the extent of the damage this morning. Shoe prints on cars, hoods dented, windshields broken.
Prints on cars, hoods dented, windshield broken. Like, somebody make this make sense. Who's doing this? Why is it getting done? Is the question. This is the question, man. It's a bunch of kids wilding out. Like, this is wild. Not only is this dangerous for people around, this is dangerous for these kids themselves. This is dangerous for these kids themselves. Let me ask you guys this question. Shout out to the people who are parents. If you saw one of your children or all of your children in one of these videos or in one of these clips, my question for you is, what would you do? What would you do about it? That's my question.
It's terrifying.
Everyone was like, well, you got to call your insurance. And we did. And they were like, oh, you don't have the package that covers mob insurance.
As this recent incident proves, even if you're outside of the city, you're not safe from teen takeovers.
Glen Ellen's really a quiet town. I know I've been talking to some of the parents today and a couple of the kids too, and they were definitely kind of freaked out.
Video shared with WGN shows the moment a manager was pushed into the lap pool while trying to get the young crowd to leave. A young man appears to help her out of the water while others can be seen laughing. Police say some of the people in the group went in without paying, were smoking pot, drinking alcohol, and setting off fireworks. Police called in backup from area agencies to help disperse the crowds.
Video posted on social media shows dozens of teens looting the 7-Eleven off of West Crenshaw, making off with stolen goods, including a fire extinguisher, which was set off outside the store.
Like, seriously? Seriously? What's going on here? And as you can see from the post here, from the Facebook post, Chi-Town crime chasers. Like, come on, man. Shout out. Hey, I gotta mess with Carlton. Shout out to Carlton. Hey, do these people here got a rubber mask on? Do these people got a rubber mask on?
This video shows the aftermath as customers try to get inside.
Look what they did inside of the 7-Eleven.
Now let me ask you guys this question, right? Shout out to the people that watch the financial content. Shout out to the young elites. Shout out to the future elites. How much do you think that it would cost to insure a business in an area where this is a high probability situation? Would you put your business here is my question. If you would put your business here, give me a thumbs up. If you wouldn't put your business here, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, I'm not sure. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. The camera got the pixelated Bigfoot, the Bigfoot UFO style, filming. So I guess that's fair. Look at this right here. It's kind of hard to see the face.
This video shows the aftermath as customers try to get inside.
Look what they did inside of the 7-Eleven.
AMC Theater's Streeterville location loaded with Chicago police. Here's why.
I thought one of these kids was going to get hit by a car or a bus.
Here's just a glimpse of the chaos. 8 p.m. Friday, teenagers storming East Illinois Street. The city estimating 300 teens.
Let me ask you guys this. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to Deneen. What's good with it, Deneen? When you all were young, when you all were teenagers, even when you were in your 20s or 30s, how many of you all took part in activities like this? If you took part in activities like this, give me a thumbs up. If you did not take part in activities like this, then give me a thumbs down.
Gathered for about 4 hours. There were fights, a 15-year-old shot in the leg, an 18-year-old also stabbed nearby.
What we saw at the Chipotle was totally unacceptable, and we're not going to tolerate that in our city ever again.
Chief Smith says she was at Navy Yard Saturday night. That night, massive fights broke out.
Look at now again. Here's my question: these teenagers who are doing this. Shout out to Jesse. What's good with it, bro? Who is making these people do this? Who is making these people do this? What kind of quote unquote control are these people under? Is my question. What is going on here?
Teens breach security at nearby apartment buildings. This video shows teens allegedly trying to break into cars. MPD said the group also robbed 2 people, sending one to the hospital.
I think it's unacceptable for a parent to assume that they know everything that their children are doing.
The new video shows a large group of people, what appears to be young people, swarming through an apartment complex near the shops at Northfield in Denver Sunday evening.
I just thought it was insane that there were so many kids gathering to hurt each other.
Fights can be seen breaking out in at least 2 different places.
Even the threat of a teen takeover has brought some businesses to a standstill.
An unusual sight on a beautiful.
So see, it's causing businesses to come to a standstill. It's stopping businesses. Now, again, my question is to you guys. Shout out to everybody watching. How many of you all would put your business at a place where this is happening? What kind of insurance on your business do you think that you would be able to get in a place like this? So now here's the question. How should this be dealt with? How should this be dealt with? Because we already know it's talking about it is off the table, right? I'm taking a major risk talking about it, right? Because centralized media will label you as such if you talk about it. How will you show me how you will get labeled with an emoji if you talk about this? But here goes my question though. How many people enjoy seeing news reports like this? How many people enjoy hearing stories about this? How many people feel comfortable knowing that this kind of stuff is going on? So the centralized media, their idea of dealing with this is when something like this occurs, we'll just point to some example of where this kind of thing occurred elsewhere, which is fine, right? That should be happening all the time anyway. But how does it address this as an internal issue is my question. Shout out to the Hood Conservative. Hood Conservative said, black kids be wildin'. Now, here goes the thing, right? That's what the evidence in these videos support. So now here's my question to the people that are annoyed with this kind of nonsense, seeing this kind of nonsense, instead of anytime this type of stuff is brought up, deflecting and saying, but this happened over here. How do you create a situation of excellence where you delete or eliminate this kind of nonsense from happening here? Because pointing another direction when this kind of stuff is brought up does not bring this to a stop. Let me ask you guys this question. How would people feel about this if one of their family members was harmed as a result of a situation like this? How would people feel? I guarantee you people would want to have it addressed at that point. If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Full Saturday afternoon, the parking lots at the Denver Zoo Conservation Alliance completely empty. The gates to the zoo locked mid-afternoon.
Hopefully this is an overreaction. Hopefully nothing happens.
Zoo spokesperson Jake Kuby getting his wish. The planned takeover nowhere to be found at City Park. Denver police told Fox 31 it would devote significant resources to the park to keep people safe. And on Saturday, officers sat at just about every entrance to the near empty park, joined by a couple Denver fire vehicles as well. DPD says it will continue to monitor social media posts about future takeovers as the summer progresses.
Yo, this takeovers is just crazy. This is just wild. So now what we're gonna do? Wait, hold on, real quick. Okay, apparently there was one in Detroit. All right, we're gonna take a look at this one in Detroit. I didn't even know that this had happened, but we're gonna take a look at this one. It leaves a car on fire. Let me see. Hold on, real quick. You know what? All right, yeah, it's about halfway through this. So let's take a look at this real quick. This is insanity.
The Edge at 11 starts now. Tonight on The Edge, hours after the 4th of July, a rowdy street takeover on Detroit's west side.
Hundreds gathered to light off fireworks and do donuts, ending with a car set on fire. Fox News' Jessica Dupnack has more on how police plan to respond.
We're talking about almost 200 people taking over an intersection, completely paralyzed.
Here goes my question. All right, we know how police plan to respond, right? We know how police plan to respond. I think the question really should be, how do parents plan to respond? And I want to ask you guys this question. How do you all think parents will respond to this? Because if you ask me, clearly, right? Clearly, there hasn't been a parental response. Or if there has been a parental response, the parental response has not been effective. Because if the parental response was effective, we would see a decreasing amount of this until this is completely non-existent. But that's not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is an increasing amount of this to the point where it's all over the news.
In a Detroit neighborhood, they were shooting off fireworks at cars, even fire trucks, jumping on DDOT buses and causing all kinds of chaos.
It was extremely chaotic. It was almost riot level. They were shooting fireworks at cars and at passersby. They were threatening to shoot people.
A street takeover on Detroit's west side for an hour and a half. Detroit police say about 200 people packed the intersection of 7 Mile and Myers.
Hey, look at that. Look at that right there. I would not shout out to Hey, shout out to Win, Lose, or Rug. If you guys agree with Win, Lose, or Rug, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Win, Lose, or Rug said, my entire response to this would be considered off code. But the thing that's crazy about it is that this behavior is not considered off code. That's the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. If you guys think that the crazy thing is somebody critiquing this, that person being called quote unquote off code is crazy, give me a thumbs up. Letting this fly somehow and not saying anything about it is not off code. Which, if you actually pay attention to the code, the alleged code literally says not to do this. Let me ask you guys a question. Besides fire, mayhem, chaos, and crime, what is being produced here, right? Nothing. Doesn't the code say not to gather like this? If nothing is the end product? So now, despite the fact that what we are indeed looking at is quote unquote off code, the person critiquing this will be critiqued as off code. Let me ask you guys this question. Do you think that has anything to do with why this kind of thing is just never, ever addressed? That's the question. Shout out to the Geek Surgeon. What's good with it, bro? This fire is crazy. All of these people's parents would just be just bawling in tears and screaming and just flipping out if one of their kids end up getting burned to death, which is a very possible situation with this giant fire circle here. God only knows what they used to start the fire. Shout out to the Hood Conservative. The Hood Conservative said, I just recently learned that there is an actual black code book. Yeah, if you read it, you can read it and then and then apply it to what you see and what you hear, and then ask yourself, this what's said in here is very different to what people say is quote unquote code versus not code. You know, it's just wild.
It's crazy to me that no one got killed. I mean, truly, look at what was going on.
Definitely. Alcohol and guns don't ever mix.
Stephen Erder lives a couple houses down from where it happened around 3 a.m. Sunday.
A group of people were jumping on top of the...
Now, I want to, again, right? So he said, the guy right here, he says alcohol and guns don't ever mix, right? Now, let me ask you guys this question. If you sit a fifth of Hennessy on a table next to an AR-15 and just sit there and watch it, what will happen? So how many people have ever heard of the fire triangle? The fire triangle is a graphic representation of what is necessary for a fire to occur, right? So there needs to be a fuel, there needs to be oxygen, and there needs to be heat for a fire to occur, right? I would say the same thing for nonsense. There should be a nonsense triangle. For nonsense, you need to have an environment, you need to have a motivation, and you need to have participants, right? So if a AR-15 and a fifth of Hennessy are just sitting on the table idle, nothing's going to happen. So this statement of guns and alcohol don't mix is not true. It's not true. When you say guns and alcohol don't mix, it completely takes away from the accountability of the person who decides to pick up the gun or the alcohol and abuse them or not use them properly or responsibly. And again, when people say things like that, that is the reason why stuff like this continues to happen, because there's no focus on the actual perpetrator. There's only a focus on items that don't do anything without an individual activating those things. So again, when people say stuff like this is what encourages people. And this right here is the reason why this kind of stuff continues to happen. Shout out to Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said, yet they calling black conservatives coons just because they don't condone this type of behavior. Like I said, the word coon, right? How in 2025, white people have said, you know, we don't really care about racist, the word racist. We don't care about this idea of racism as people say it. If you ask me, people who are looking to try to improve and create a productive society and build wealth, the iteration of the word coon should be questioned. Because when it comes to the word quote unquote coon, right? In most cases, that word's not even applied correctly. In most cases, the word coon simply means you don't agree 100% with someone's favorite social media content creator. It has nothing to do with actual societal production. Nothing whatsoever. You disagree with something, you're a coon. You don't like a certain person, you're a coon. Here's a question. If you ask me, these people in the street creating all this bad publicity, that's the actual cooning. It literally says directly in the quote-unquote code book, do not gather for non-productive events. What is this? A gathering for non-productive events. But the person who says something about it is the problem. Here's the question. Why? Why? That's the question. That's the question.
White Challenger that was set on fire, and then a group of people started to jump on the bus, and then they started shooting fireworks at the bus, throwing M80s at the bus.
3 people were arrested when Detroit police eventually assembled and responded.
We had to pull police cars from multiple precincts. You can't send one scout car into a crowd of 200 people and not put the officers at risk.
DPD's mobile field force put in place last summer after another illegal gathering on the city's east side where 21 people were shot. But their shift ends at 3 a.m.
21 people shot. 21 people shot. Let me ask you guys a question. Could you imagine if some government agency, the FBI, or just even a local agency, local police department or something like that, if they did a study on this type of thing, what would that study show? What would that study show? That's my question. Right? What would that study show? If they did a study on this, what would the transcript say? And shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. Now, let me ask you guys this question. The people who had these kids, and these kids are engaged in this, and this is an activity that just continues to happen all throughout the United States. Here's the question. How many people think that these people should be having kids? If you think that these people should be having kids, give me a thumbs up. If you don't think that these people should be having kids, give me a thumbs down.
It's becoming clear to the chief and me that these folks have figured out the mobile field force is going home at 3 o'clock and have adjusted their strategies.
Now that team will stay out until 5 a.m. Sources.
Hey, shout out to DeAndre. Hey, I appreciate you enforcing the likes. Yo, we got 16 live, 16 likes. We on the 1-to-1. Make sure y'all drop some 16s in the chat. I appreciate you. Shout out to Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said my ass will be in the house playing PS5 on July 4th. Bro, I stay very close to my home for the most part on any type of holiday. Because what's wild about it is that people tend to use the holidays as an excuse to engage in extreme level ridiculousness. And if people disagree and they don't believe me that people engage in extreme level ridiculousness, look up any holiday, put the year behind it, and put shootings/crimes on those days, and pick 10 random news reports and tell me what they say.
Street takeovers draw crowds from the city and suburbs, and they organize on social media for social media.
They're not going to get no likes in the parking lot, but if they shut down 7 Mile, they will.
This time, Stefan cleaned up liquor bottles off the block. He says next time, he doesn't want it to be bodies.
Hopefully in the future, this is curtailed because it can potentially escalate into something far greater.
Another change that Mayor Mike Duggan announced on Monday is that any 911 call that comes in about a group of young people gathering is now a priority 1 call for Detroit police to respond even sooner. Reporting on Detroit's west side, Jessica Dupnack on the Edge.
So these people, right? They have made the situation so bad that it's now illegal for the teens to gather. And as soon as the teens gather, the police are going to get called. Now, here goes my question. Who caused this problem? Here's another question. Is this quote unquote fair? Somebody let me know. Is this fair or is this unfair? Let me know.
Well, the man accused of shooting into a crowd just before the Ford fireworks show in downtown Detroit, now behind bars. Detroit police say they caught.
Why? Why?
Alfonso Cooper Jr. this afternoon at a home in Washtenaw County. He spent the last 2 weeks on the run. His alleged accomplice has also been arrested. Police say a 17-year-old boy and 22-year-old woman were hurt when shots rang out near Randolph and Larned on June 23rd.
And that shooting marked the beginning of a vicious stretch of gun violence in the city. A 4-year-old boy and an 18-year-old boy were killed at a park on June.
Seriously? Shout out to Honda 666. What's good with it, bro? A 4-year-old and an 8-year-old boy. Look at that little boy right there. Look at that little boy right there. He's not gonna live to his 5th birthday. I mean, again, my question is how is it as many pieces of crap as there are on the street at these times? How is it that a kid always gets hit? Is the question. I don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense. I've been asking this question for a long time.
27th. 6 days later, a 16-year-old boy was killed after police say he shot an officer in the hand. And then this past weekend, officers say a 2-year-old was hit by a stray bullet.
The 16-year-old boy was deleted. He shot an officer in the hand. What is going on out here?
While watching fireworks.
We don't want to have no more families screaming. We don't want to bury no more children. We don't want to see children incarcerated.
2024.
Okay, now we don't want to see children screaming. We don't want to bury no more children. We don't want to see children incarcerated. Not reasonable expectations, reasonable requests. What about you don't want to see children engaging in nonsense like this, and that's probably the reason why all of the above happened. Again, as you see, the adult in the situation repeatedly takes away the accountability from the degenerate behavior that the child is doing, and the adult repeatedly takes away the attention from the lack of parenting that's being applied that's causing these things. Here's my question. What does that solve? What does that solve? Does that solve the issue?
Boy was killed after police say he shot an officer in the hand. And then this past weekend, officers say a 2-year-old was hit by a stray bullet while watching fireworks.
We don't want to have no more families screaming. We don't want to bury no more children. We don't want to see children incarcerated.
So now let me ask you guys this question. To achieve the 3 things that this guy just said that he doesn't want to see anymore, in order to achieve those things, here's my question. What is an easy plan to do that? And again, here's my question. What outside factor is causing people to do this?
The 24 plan was effective. But what we've seen in the last 30 days is that our problems have changed and our strategies have to change.
So let's talk about that strategy. Detroit police now planning to crack down on teen violence. You will see mobile units staying out until 5 in the morning. Catching curfew violators will be a top priority. There's also a proposal to have parents pay $250 and up to $500 if their children violate curfew. And there's a push to pass the Public Safety Trust Fund. Well, disturbing details about a violent bank robbery in Southfield.
So again, people will be like, oh, they just decided to make this law, right? Now, based on the evidence, based on these news reports, should they make this law? Because here's my question. How will this stuff stop? Because what it seems like is the people who should be stopping this are not capable of stopping it. How many people heard about this disruptive pool party in PG County? If you guys heard about this disruptive pool party in PG County, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Now, it's the same question that we always ask. Who made these people do this?
This was horrible. This was a fiasco.
Inga Jackson and her husband moved to their home in the Cantor Creek neighborhood in Upper Marlboro for the peace and quiet and neighborly atmosphere. But she says what happened Saturday afternoon is not what neighbors want here. A pool party that she says drew hundreds of people got out of control. Videos show some of the behavior Saturday afternoon, including one neighbor says someone urinating in his yard.
They were.
Now, let me ask you guys this question. If you went outside and you saw someone, quote unquote, urinating in your yard, how would you deal with it? How would you react to it? Now, I want to ask you guys this question. Let's just say, for instance, this happened in the Castle Doctrine state, and somebody looked outside and saw somebody pissing or pooping on their property, and they decided to use their Second Amendment on them. What would the social media / media meltdown look like? That's my question. Shout out to Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said they are proving why when 2024, majority of people voted for Trump back in office. Every time something like this goes on every year, Democrats are doing nothing at all, especially local government. And again, that's because when it comes to the Democrats, as we all know, are adjacent to pro-crime culture. The Democrats encourage, facilitate, and attempt to decriminalize a large majority of harmful criminal activities. We can see that going on right now with the undocumented issue. Right? Shout out to Tedra. Tedra said, I just posted a video in Discord of the excuse the Syracuse Police Department is saying the reason is for kids having guns. Now, let me ask you guys this. When it comes to the quote unquote the kids having guns, right? Are the kids having guns, is that what's leaving footprints on people's cars? You know what I'm saying? Is that what's leaving the footprints on people's cars?
Dancing on my neighbor's yards over here. They're riding through the circle, dancing in the cars on the way out, walking through the community with open bottles of alcohol.
Prince George's County Police were called multiple times and eventually shut it down. Jackson says plenty of people host parties, but this was something different. Those who attended told neighbors they paid $30 to attend. There was a DJ and security.
And we just want to stay private and enjoy our community that we've all invested quite a bit of money. And you know, here in Prince George's County, we pay a whole lot of taxes.
We knocked on the door where the party was held, but no one answered. Maryland National Capital Park Police confirmed once the party was broken up, many of the young people ended up here at this nearby park in the Cantor Creek community. They were told once again to go home. Neighbors have been calling everyone they can, the county, police.
Now, you know, something like this, something like this is gonna end really bad. Something like this is going to end really bad. You know, the centralized YouTube media, you know, they'll be like, oh, you know, anybody that says anything about this, anybody that talks about this, there's massive yada, yada, yada. Now, okay, that's fine, right? People can say that as much as they want to. But what happens when this ends in one of these kids getting deleted? What happens when this ends in one of these kids getting deleted? Then it will be an entirely different story, right? It'll be an entirely different story. Now, when a kid gets deleted as a result of this, what will the story be? That's my question. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. What's good with it, bro? And shout out to Tedra. Make sure y'all show Tedra some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emojis, some ducks in the chat for Tedra for throwing that news clip in the Discord. We're gonna take a look at that after we watch this.
HOA attorneys trying to figure out what they can do to stop it from happening again. Jackson said during an emergency Zoom meeting Sunday, some residents said they were scared.
If anybody from the county is watching, help us. Just help us. Help us render this. Help us rectify this. Help us get this out of our community.
In Prince George's County, Darcy Spencer, News 4.
Now, I want to ask you guys this question. How many of the kids that are in these videos that are doing these things, how many of those kids do you think belong to parents that actually live in that area? If you ask me, I just got this feeling it might be more than you would expect. So shout out to Tedra. Tedra put this article or this link to this clip in the Discord, and it says Syracuse police say that 86% of the handguns used in crimes come from out of state. Okay.
We continue to turn our focus to what Syracuse police call crime guns. Investigators continue to search for the gunman wanted in the murder of 15-year-old Adon Thomas. He was shot and killed Tuesday.
Another now again, see, this is what ends up happening, right? Another kid. Now, again, if you pay attention to the news and you see all of this stuff going on, you would think that these people would wake up and see exactly what it is that's causing these kids to be deleted. Now, again, I got to ask the question, where is the public outrage for this? Where's the public outrage?
June 24th at a crowded pool at Onondaga Park. Within hours, city and police leaders suspected it was another crime linked to a crime gun. As the reporter explains, recent data suggests more than half of these crime guns in Syracuse are coming from 3 states and often end up here thanks to family ties.
The most recent data from Syracuse police tells part of this.
So they end up here, quote unquote, as a result of, quote unquote, family ties. So let's just examine that for a quick second. Shout out to everybody watching. We got 20 people watching. We got 19 likes. If we could get everybody to hit the like button so we can get that 1-to-1, I would definitely appreciate it. Also, if you haven't shared the stream, please do me a favor, take a moment and share the stream. All right. What's happening here? Why are families, quote unquote, allegedly, quote unquote, supplying these guns? Families doing it. Why are they doing it?
Story. 86% of handguns used in crimes in Syracuse last year came from other states. More than 50% came from just 3 states, Ohio, North Carolina, and Georgia. In fact, 1 in 4 of crime guns recovered by SPD are linked to Georgia, but end up here. Data from hundreds of police investigations results in rather confident conclusion from Police Chief Joe Cecil. Before the trigger is pulled, it's often family ties that bring that firearm to Syracuse.
When they say it's often family ties that bring the gun to Syracuse, what does that mean? Elaborate.
It's folks that have family members that are out of state and are able to present their souls illegally here in New York State, and unfortunately used in a crime, sometimes a homicide.
While this is a valuable data point, it also presents a challenge to police. To intercept that weapon before it's used in a crime means trying to break that family bond.
It is difficult. It's not some stranger they're buying these from. In some cases it is, but we've determined that it's a connection they have with family members in another state.
Family members, the same family that'll be crying if something happens. So I want to ask you guys this question: how many people think that people just don't want to deal with this, or people actually feel and believe but don't say it out loud that they don't have a way of dealing with this? Now remember, this right here, this is in Syracuse, New York.
The other challenge police face in keeping people safe is the sheer volume of guns on these streets. Looking at decades worth of data reveals the city of Syracuse is on average recovering between 250 and 300 guns linked to crimes each year.
It's clearly more prevalent than 10 years ago and much more prevalent. When I came on, if you caught somebody with a gun, you got an award for it, a commendation. Now it's happening every day.
One new tactic SPD is using is retired police officers watching police cameras to intercept the suspects. Reporting in the control room, I'm Steph Schwiko.
All right, so there's that. All right, so now shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Make sure y'all show Win Lose a Rug some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, some ducks in the chat for Win Lose a Rug. We got to take a look at this. All right, somebody posted some ring cam footage, and we're gonna actually watch a video clip of this wild situation that took place in Philadelphia. All right. Now, again, what I want to know with this situation in Philadelphia is, and again, we got Syracuse, we got Philadelphia, right? Who made these people do this? This, how many people want to live next door to this? If you want to live next door to this, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down. Not me. Not me. And not me even before the gunshots go off. Now, the problem is, I've heard, I hear people talk about this kind of stuff. I live in an area where stuff like this goes on. And when you're out and about and you hear people talk about it, people talk about this type of thing happening in the area where they live at with like this weird bipolar type of discussion. They at first act like it's so unfortunate that this is going on. And then they also act like it's a badge of honor that so much of this goes on. It's really wild. So if you have that type of bipolar emotion towards your living condition being like this, where does the motivation come to repair it? I mean, this is wild. You got people crawling all on top of each other. Like this is crazy. What happened that made somebody decide I'm just gonna start busting right here? A lot of these people ain't even involved, and then everybody would just start busting. Then you start talking to somebody. I was at this party. Oh, they just started busting. Why did you go to the party? Yeah, you ask me. This isn't somewhere where you would catch me at. This isn't somewhere where you would catch me at. You know what I'm saying? Now, again, my question is, where is the element that quote unquote made people do this? Because the story is always told that somehow people are quote unquote made to do this. Okay, so we're watching this live action. Where is the making taking place? I mean, they not even aiming. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody that was right there could have got shot. Shout out to DSA. What's good with it, bro? Somebody that was right there could have got shot. They're not even aiming properly. They're not even holding the gun properly. So let's see what the news had to say about it, because that was the ring cam video. As a result of that situation, 3 people ended up dead. Okay. And shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed that like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell, and also please share the stream to your social media. All right, so let's see what ABC6 decided to say about this. Let's see. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go.
On to the latest on the investigation into the mass shooting in Philadelphia's Grace Ferry neighborhood. Detectives are now trying to identify the 3 gunmen who shot 12 people, killing 3 of them early Monday morning.
Now, you know, let's just act like let's just act like Democrats care, right? Let's just act like Democrats care. Democrats not really doing anything about this. They focused on undocumented migrants. I think that the parents should be focused on this. There's a lot of, these are kids gathered here, which means that there's a lot of parents who have their kids there. Did this just spontaneously happen? What happened here?
Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson joins us live from police headquarters in Sharifa. Action News just got an update from Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel.
Yeah, that's right. We did, Nydia. He says there's a lot of surveillance video, a lot of cell phone video that they have to sort through. But because of this, they have a lot of significant leads as they continue to search for those suspects.
We're going through our process. Homicide is, methodically going through the evidence.
This is the new flyer shared by Philadelphia police overnight. Detectives are pointing out these 3 shooters, one with what they say has a distinctive backpack, another image showing a profile shot of this shooter's face. This ring video.
Now, again, here's my question. What caused this? Who made people do this? Shout out to Carlton. Where the rubber masks at? And shout out to Carlton. Where the rubber masks at? Where the masks at?
As part of the police investigation, it shows the intense exchange of gunfire on the 1500 block of South Edding Street just before 1 a.m. Monday.
Now, I want to ask the question, right? Because the way that this has been dealt with is 2 ways, and both ways have been ineffective. Deflection, and we'll just act like this doesn't happen. And one of the reasons why people, quote unquote, act like this doesn't happen is because they're intimidated. They're scared. They're scared of what will happen to them if they simply have a discussion about this. Right? So let me ask you guys this question. How effective have those methods been? Attempting to intimidate people and shut down conversation about these kind of things, I'd say it's been fairly effective because the knock-kneed cowards don't say anything about it because they're scared of people looming on YouTube calling them names, right? That would be great if it worked, right? But it doesn't. And you hear about this stuff year over year. So again, we got to get to the root cause, right? First question, what's causing this? Second question, who's making these people do this? Third question, how effectively has this been addressed over the years? These are my questions. Hey, Carl, throw the monolith mask in the chat. Where the masks at? Where Jim Carrey with the mask?
In all, police say 12 people were shot. 3 of them died, including 19-year-old Jason Reese, 23-year-old Zahir Wiley, and 24-year-old Azir Harris.
Now, what's that dude's name? Bacardi Sellers. He was talking about, quote unquote, N-word associated cancer. You guys remember that? If you guys remember that, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, then give me a thumbs down. He forgot to talk about bullet associated bowel resections. Right? Let me ask you guys this question. How many people do bullet associated bowel resections take out every year? That's since we're doing the medical thing, right? Since we're doing the medical thing, we're talking about N-word associated cancer. Okay. Let's talk about bullet associated bowel resections. Let's talk about bullet associated colostomies. How many people got a shit bag every year because of this? I'm talking about medical shit, right? Get your medical knowledge on, right? I'm just curious. Let me ask you guys this question. Would bullet-associated bowel resections and bullet-associated shit bags constitute medical apartheid? If they would, give me a thumbs up. If they would not, give me a thumbs down.
Your Harris. Action News spoke to Harris's father.
They took a piece of me. It's gonna be hard to fill that space.
During this emotional interview, he shared how Azir survived a drive-by shooting when he was 17 years old. He was left paralyzed and in a wheelchair, but he didn't let that stop him. Advocating.
It was Jamal Bowman. Look at this. Drive-by shooting when he was 17 years old, and he's in a wheelchair now. all kind of problems associated with being in a wheelchair. Young man.
For gun violence survivors ever since.
He had a big heart to be his age, and he thought outside the box so much. He wanted more than just a wheelchair. You know, he wanted more. He wanted more life.
Police hoping to drum up tips and bring peace to the Harris family and everyone else impacted by this mass shooting, as Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel vows.
We continue to emphasize our work around gun violence and really being effective in going after individuals with guns and holding those individuals accountable.
Yeah, many of the injured, they remain in the hospital today. The youngest victim, only 15 years old.
The youngest victim was 15 years old. Youngest victim was 15 years old. Now, here's my question. How many people are actually convinced that people care about this? If you're convinced and you actually believe that people care about this, give me a thumbs up. If you're not convinced and you don't believe that people care about this, then give me a thumbs down. How many people are actually convinced? Are you convinced?
Police, they continue to investigate. We're live from Philadelphia Police Headquarters. Sharifa Jackson, Channel 6, Action News.
Now, here's the thing, right? If you listen to the centralized YouTube media will say all they do is blare these stories all over the news. Let me ask you guys this question. Have you seen these stories, quote unquote, blared all over the news? And if you have, where? Where? MSNBC? Washington Post? Even Fox, they didn't show any of this stuff that went on in Indiana. They didn't show any of this stuff that went on in Philadelphia. So this is, quote unquote, blared all over the news. Blared all over what news? When I talk about these things, either on Undocumented, when we dive into them briefly, or when we talk about them on Crimecast, most times people aren't even aware of this stuff. The only reason I'm aware of a lot of this stuff is because, like I tell everybody all the time, I'm a local news junkie. I love local news. Local news is more entertaining than a talk show, especially when you watch all kinds of local news from a lot of different places. It's fascinating. But where have you seen this at in the national news? Where's the big article about this from New York Post? Where's the big article? The only place that covers this type of stuff, and even them, they only touch on it briefly, is Fox or New York Post, Daily Mail, Right Wing. So where is it blared at all over the news? People say if this was us, quote unquote, it would be blared all over the news. Where was that Detroit story blared all over the news? Detroit. Guaranteed, probably a lot of us. It's Detroit. It's freaking Motown. Syracuse. Freaking Central New York. Right next to the Steel Belt. Indiana. Freaking Indiana. You know what I'm saying? So where were these stories blared at all over the news? Because I know when people say blared all over the news, I know they're not talking about my channel, because my channel doesn't get enough eyes on it to be, quote unquote, considered the news. So it's definitely not because I'm talking about it. So where is it at? So where somebody send me a link other than local news to where this is, quote unquote, getting blared all over the news. That's send me a link. Send me, send it to me. Right? Because if it is, we should be able to prove it easily, right? So there's that. That's going on, right? We're going to be talking about that because I got this feeling that this stuff isn't going to stop anytime soon. And you're going to run into resistance talking about it, because if you talk about it, somehow you've done something wrong, despite the fact that you haven't harmed any of these people. Because the centralized YouTube media has a expectation of what you can and can't talk about, and they bring those things down from the top down, right? We're going to talk about it anyway. How many people remember Governor Youngkin from Virginia? Governor Youngkin says arrests of illegal immigrants makes Virginia safer. I wouldn't disagree with that statement. If you guys would agree with that statement, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree with that statement, give me a thumbs down. Now, again, shout out to Tedra. Tedra said, I would not have known anything about what happened in Syracuse if I didn't keep up with the news there. Exactly. A lot of this stuff that happens on the local news, people don't know about it. So again, now how many people heard it was some dude, he got killed over a cinnamon bun. He killed his uncle over a cinnamon bun. Anybody hear about that story? Shout out to Black Men Being Brutally Honest. He's one of the people that covered that. He made a video about it. That wasn't on national news. They didn't, quote unquote, blare that all over the news. That's a story that you'll find a lot of people was talking about on social media. It wasn't, quote unquote, and on social media, not a lot of content creators with a lot of subscribers. But yeah, some dude deleted his uncle over like a cinnamon bun. That story wasn't, quote unquote, blared all over the news. A lot of times with a lot of these stories, you have to be subscribed to a local printed publication. And a lot of times, if you're not subscribed, these stories are behind a paywall. So a lot of people they're not making content about them all like that. Shout out to Tedra. See, Tedra said, I heard about that from an article on Discord. Right. It wasn't, quote unquote, blared, quote unquote, all over the news. So again, my question is, where is this stuff blared at, quote unquote, all over the news? This is mass hysteria being produced. Now, again, here's evidence of Democrats being pro-crime culture, right? Glenn Youngkin is saying that illegal migrants should be arrested, and getting criminals off of the streets will make a better environment. When it comes to intervening in dealing with these criminals, who are the people with the capes on to try to allow the criminals to run free? Who's doing it? Who's doing it? Somebody let me know who's doing it.
And sticking up for ICE agents spotted at Chesterfield Courthouse in recent weeks. The governor is saying if someone is here illegally and commits a crime, they should be deported. Madison McManey is live with what else the governor.
Now, I don't even know why I don't know why that's just put out there like that. I don't know why, that's something that needs to be questioned or critiqued. Let's just deal with that right here. If you guys agree with that statement right there, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree with that statement, give me a thumbs down. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. I don't see anything wrong with that statement. If you have come to the United States illegally and you commit a crime, you should be prosecuted and deported. There's nothing incorrect about that statement. But in 2025, a statement as simple as that must be debated against emotion. Now, here's my question. Why in 2025 must a statement like that be debated against emotion? That's my question. Why? Does it make sense? It doesn't make any sense. That should be the obvious thing. But for some reason, it's not the obvious thing. Why is it not the obvious thing?
You're illegally commits a crime, they should be deported. Madison McManey is live with what else the governor had to say during a security briefing today, Madison.
Franklin, today the governor credited 5 key initiatives for making Virginia safer. One of them being arresting violent criminals who he says are here illegally. He says he now is seeing results pointing to a decrease in homicides and an increase in police presence.
So now let me ask you guys this question. Shout out to the people that, they'll come to the comment section and they say, I support ICE. Because a lot of people say that, right? It's not just one or two people. And you know what I said? I don't mess with law enforcement, right? So anytime somebody says that in the chat, I always make it clear, hey, I'm just reading a chat. I don't mess with law enforcement, right? Now, what if people who are tired of those type of teen takeovers happening put in chats elsewhere, I support the Teen Takeover Task Force. Let me ask you guys a question. How do people feel about that? Because if you ask me, if you support ICE and you don't support the Teen Takeover Task Force, it's kind of inconsistent. As a matter of fact, it's very inconsistent. So that's my question for everybody. What do you guys think about that? Shout out to Mike Mellis-John. Mike Mellis-John says, I've seen worse local stories where parents are deleting kids over cheesecake. We talked about a bunch of those type of stories. We talked about a familicide yesterday where some mom stabbed her daughter and put her in the woods. Right? But here's my question. Does that bring that guy's uncle back? And if people are supposed to be setting a quote unquote standard of greatness, does that support that greatness? That's my question. That's my question. You guys let me know. You guys got the floor. It's your opinion. Let me know.
This works, and there are results to show it. Virginians are safer.
Wednesday afternoon, Governor Glenn Youngkin thanking police all across the Commonwealth, highlighting 5 key initiatives he says show the Commonwealth is now a safer place. Among them, arresting violent criminals here illegally.
Some of our local law enforcement partners related into the national model of success. We just passed over 2,500 arrests through our Virginia Homeland Security Task Force.
The governor standing by the presence of ICE at a Chesterfield courthouse last week, even though we've been told some of the people arrested were there for traffic violations.
If you're going to break the law and you're here illegally, you're going to be detained and you're going to be arrested. And by the way, that's common sense. Right? They're not.
Let me ask you guys this question. Is he right? Is that common sense? If that's common sense, give me a thumbs up. If it's not common sense, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to AB. AB said there won't be much support because the outcome isn't going to be the same. Now that's interesting. I think the outcome might be similar. Some people would get deported to a prison somewhere, and then other people would get deported to a prison somewhere. I think that I think the outcome would be geographically somewhat similar, right? Because at the end of the day, if you support both task forces, the people who committed the violations, neither of them will be in their homes, right? In both situations, both will be deported away from their homes. It's just in one situation, someone will be deported, to a holding cell under a different jurisdiction than the other one, right? But regardless, right, if we classify them all as offenders, quote unquote, the offenders will in some way be removed, right? If you guys would agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys would disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Going to schools and they're not going to churches.
While the deportations were a hot topic during his briefing, the governor's other priorities include upping police staffing, better human trafficking awareness, putting an end to fentanyl use, and increased VSP presence in violence areas with Operation Bold Blue Line.
I don't know that we'll ever rid the Commonwealth of violent crime, but we've got those folks thinking twice about violating laws in Virginia because we're going out there after them.
The governor even credits the operation with a 30% drop in murders around the state. But in Petersburg, the drop was even more dramatic.
We've seen a huge uptick in our homicide rate in our city about three years ago. And we're proud to announce that last year we saw a decrease in about 50% of our homicide rate in our city.
Now, I want to ask you guys this question. Again, homicide, right? The homicide rate, quote unquote, homicide. Why is the homicide rate where it's at? Anytime this question is asked, there's not really ever a response or an explanation. So I'm curious what people think. Why is the homicide rate where it is? That's my question. Here, they're talking about in Virginia. So we're talking about like possibly PG County, Silver Springs, Maryland. Right? Why? Here's another question. Why is it that in Democrat cities, violent crime rates are always so high? then you see these news interviews of people who cry and moan and whine and say that they're so tired of this and my baby, right? And then they turn around and vote for another Democrat, yet ignore the pattern that everywhere where the Democrats are, the violent crime rate is significantly higher. I need someone to explain why that occurs. I've been asking this question forever, and forever I've been plagued of no answer. Maybe that'll change today. Can we end forever today? Shout out to Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said it's because black people have always defended the law enforcement. Now, here goes my thing. I think that there's an interesting paradigm with that. The very same people, right? The very same people who will be like, we need something done because we just can't deal with it. We need something done because we just can't deal with it. So then when they say they need something done, we just can't deal with it. Then when the politicians say we're going to quote unquote go quote unquote hard on crime, and then as a result of going hard on crime, some casualties occur. The very same people who say we can't deal with it, help us, we can't deal with it, help us, they say the police is killing us, while not saying about all the other people who had killed them prior. So again, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because this is the same as any other method when it comes to dealing with this. For whatever reason, it does not work. Shout out to Jay. Jay said he just answered. Let me go back. Put the comment in again, bro. I don't see it. Shout out to Tedra. Tedra said this is more in Northern Virginia, which is closer to the DC area. I live in Southern Virginia, so I haven't heard of ICE raids in my area. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Oh, defunded. Yeah. Now, again, here's my question. And again, right, this is the thing that's wild. The very same people who say defund the police are saying fund ICE, and ICE are a form of police. Right? So again, that's confusing to someone like me who ain't with it with law enforcement at all. Because when I say I don't mess with law enforcement, I don't mess with law enforcement. But some people 50-50, you know what I'm saying? They got the Kevin Samuels thing going on. They 50-50 mess with law enforcement. They'll sit there and tell you, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we running with ICE, like we rocking with ICE, yada, yada, yada. And then turn around and say, you know what I'm saying? We don't mess with the police. ICE is 50% of the word police. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing that ICE agents and police have in common. Their apparel all say ICE. The police just have POL in front of it. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Detroit 313. I appreciate you, bro. Hey, I ain't mad at that. Paying for the typos, I ain't mad at that. You know what I'm saying? We should put that in. We should make that a policy. You got to pay for your typos, right? Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate it. Make sure y'all show Detroit 313 some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Detroit 313. Detroit 313 said, meant to say, black people have always defunded law enforcement. If you guys agree with Detroit 313, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. And shout out to you, bro. I appreciate it.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the March of Dimes.
So now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that to say this. Do people can ignore it if they want to. It's not ignoring you. You can ignore it if you want to. It's not ignoring you. Moving goalposts, rolling double standards, and inarticulation of proper objectives will get people caught up all the time. It'll get people caught up all the time. And I tell you what, you better hope one of these days there's not somebody that's the anti-Rob, the opposite version of me that comes up, right? That's not down with the team. Because if somebody like me pops up, that is not batting for the home team. Y'all got a lot of trouble on your hands. Y'all got a lot of trouble on your hands. I'm just saying. So me personally, I think people need to do a lot of intellectual honesty, soul searching. I think that people need to actually sit down and look at these things, deal with what is real versus what isn't. And if people actually want to deal with these things, and hold a level of consistency, hold a standard. Yeah, shout out to Tedra. Facts. ICE is just a specialized branch of the police like SWAT and ATF. Yeah, they're part of the executive branch of the government, the police, the military, ICE. How many people remember way back in the day when we quote unquote used to talk about the quote unquote uniform? Shout out to Carlton. If DJ Elmo is in here, DJ Elmo knows the quote unquote uniform. You know what the quote unquote uniform is. ICE wear the quote unquote uniform. You know what I'm saying? So, just so people are clear, right? Just so people are clear. So, and shout out to Mike Mellis-John. I'm not mad at that. Mike Mellis-John says, I see ICE as a stepping stone to mess up these quote-unquote anti-black FBA migrants. That's it. Now, here goes my question. How many people heard about all of the money that the big, beautiful bill gave to ICE? Did anybody hear about that? How many people heard? I think ICE got a lot of money. The Department of Homeland Security got a lot of money. You know what I didn't hear? I didn't hear anybody say that money would have better been spent as reparations. Now, I would have said it. I'd have said that. But I just said, I sit back and see if anybody says that. Nobody said it. So I'm saying it right now. Right. So mark your calendar. Right. Mark your calendar. I said that. Shout out to the Modern Investor. Let's move on.
Now, the governor is illustrating the impact of his Homeland Security Task Force.
Now, Virginia State Police also pointed to its biggest training class since 2018 as another sign of safety improvements.
So now, shout out to DeAndre, right? DeAndre says 100 billion, I believe. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money not being invested into, guess who? Who is that? Who is that money not being invested into? I remember back in the day, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, when those kind of issues were what people talked about. Somebody just got a check. Oh, that check could have been used for dun. Take a wild guess. But that's not what's going on in the content scape these days. So since the content scape has evolved, your boy has to evolve. But make no mistake, we put the pin in the cork board. I said it. No one else said it. Throwing my hands up, backing out it. Right? Now, here's my question. How come nobody said anything about the $100 billion? Is a lot of money. Let me ask you guys a question. What's similar to $100 billion going to ICE and $100 billion going to the 51st state for military aid? I'm going to tell you what's similar about it. None of that money is going into your pocket. Right? Undeniable fact. Undeniable fact. None of that money is going into your pocket. I remember when people used to have a pocket watching accounting. Down. How many people remember that back in the day? What was that like, 2023, 2022, 2021, right? Right around C-19 time. Man, any time any amount of money was being spent by the government spending money on this, no money for Black Americans. How many people remember that? Man, it was going on YouTube. Y'all remember that? I remember it. People forget. I don't forget. How long did that last? like I said, I did my part. I just mentioned it now, right? I did my part, right? I just mentioned it now. You know what I'm saying? So, just in case people forgot, right? Just in case people forgot, because it seemed like they clearly did. Thank goodness you got somebody on your team that didn't forget. You're welcome, right? So we about to take a look at this. We about to take a look at this, right? Fox News got this new channel, and it's called Fox. It's called Fox News Clips, right? Take a wild guess what they put on that channel. Fox News Clips. They put Fox News Clips on there. So here's a clip of Laura Ingraham, right? And she's talking about the quote unquote rhetoric that Democrats are using against ICE. How many people remember when the pear-shaped woman in California did a Mama Says TikTok and told all of the mijos and all of the mijas and all of the tios and all of the tias, where the leadership at? You better get out there and protect your people. Y'all remember that when she said that? If y'all remember that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all don't, give me a thumbs down. Shout out to J-Dub. What's good with it, bro? And shout out to everybody watching. If y'all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. If y'all haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media. Yeah, she should have been sitting outside, you know what I'm saying, in a lowrider. What's going on? You guys just gonna let ICE do that to your people? Where's Florencia at? Where Fresno at? Where the Norteños at? Where the Serranos at? Where the leadership? Y'all remember when she said that? Now, unfortunately for everybody watching, it's not like she was Carmen on the George Lopez show, right? She was shaped like an upside down light bulb. But regardless, right? Regardless, she is one of the second Democrat politicians in Abuela calling for gangs to intervene politically. Nobody said anything about it. MSNBC didn't say nothing about it. CNN didn't say anything about it. Again, double crime, pro-crime culture. Get these illegal people who are doing illegal activities in these illegal gangs and have them do illegal things, like illegally go after ICE, which is law enforcement. Pro-crime culture. I want you guys to answer this question for me, right? Because I'm sure there's people that get upset when I call the Democrats pro-crime culture. Show me how the Democrats are not pro-crime culture. These are the people that use illegal methods, but it'll be the first people to have you sitting in a courthouse. Somebody make it make sense. Shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions said Carmen wasn't a realistic wife for George on the show. Hey, listen, he wrote the show. I would have done the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Look, hey, he wrote the show. And honestly, I ain't gonna lie to you. Carmen could be a realistic wife for George. We don't know what she was doing. She was acting like a good wife while she was on the show, but we didn't. When the focus was on George, we don't know what Carmen was doing. She could have been getting blown out somewhere and then came home and washed all the clothes and cooked dinner. We don't know what was going on. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what was going on. But like I said, George wrote the show. And if I had wrote the show, you damn right. Shout out to DSB. What's good with it? Yeah.
The focus of tonight's angle. Now, as if Texas hasn't had enough to deal with today, gunfire outside a Border Patrol facility.
Border Patrol agents returned fire and subsequently neutralized, that is, killed the person that had opened fire upon that building. There were many dozens of rounds fired by the suspect towards the building and towards agents in that building.
Now, no federal agents were shot, but a local police officer was hit and is in stable condition. And there was another violent attack on Thursday outside an ICE facility in North Texas when an Alvarado police officer, he was shot in the neck. Multiple people fired shots from the crowd.
Now, again, I got to ask you guys this question. Why is this not being talked about, quote unquote, universally? Why is this not being talked about universally? That's my question. Now, people would say, "Oh, this is not real. This is just politicized nonsense," right? How is it that when there's local news articles that substantiate a lot of these things happening, how does it just get, quote unquote, turfed off as political propaganda? Shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions said George Lopez's head is shaped like a character from Minecraft. It is. He looks like the Lego man. He about the same height as the Lego man too. You know what I'm saying? But hey, he wrote Carmen in as his wife. He knew the assignment. You know what I'm saying?
Several are in custody.
Authorities say Alvarado police responded to the facility in reference to a suspicious person and observed someone appearing to carry a gun. They say one of the officers tried to engage with that person, and that's when multiple suspects opened fire on the officer. The injured officer was taken to a hospital, treated, and later released, and multiple suspects were arrested in connection to the shooting.
Shout out to DSB.
When Americans wonder how things got so violent.
Shout out to DSB. DSB said, "Where is Al Sharpton and James Clyburn and the rest of the Democrat goons?" You know that Karen Bass was out there at MacArthur Park in the middle of that ICE raid. I don't know what she was doing, but she was out there in the middle of it. We talked about it on Crimecast yesterday. Why was Karen Bass out there in the middle of that ICE raid at MacArthur Park, ladies and gentlemen? What was Karen Bass doing?
On the left, they should know that the main culprits are the media and the Democrat Party. Now, remember when they set up that creepy staging at Independence Hall for Joe to scare everybody?
Donald Trump and the MAGA.
Hey, look at dark Joe Biden. Do y'all remember when Joe Biden had the ambient red lights, the flames behind him? How many people remember this when Joe Biden had the ambient red flames behind him? This was wild right here. Yo, shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys. If you all haven't smashed the like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment, smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit the bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media. What was the purpose of this? This is supposed to be the end of the world address? This looked like this was the apocalypse address. Whoever coordinated this and put this together, man, they wanted people to feel like Mad Max was about to happen.
Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. The Republican Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans. And that is a threat to this country.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
And ABC, right before the election, even did a poll about it. Ooh, half the country thinks Trump's a fascist. Now, for years and years, right up until present day, they have done everything they could to convince young people that ours is a racist, dangerous, evil country, and that we shouldn't be proud of it.
Now, thoughts. The centralized YouTube media has people scared to express their thoughts. I encourage people to shake that fear and be your real self and say exactly what's on your mind. We got any brave souls in here? We got any brave souls in here? I think that this particular statement, this particular comment has been discussed by many people under delusion. Shout out to the Informant Media. Informant Media says the brave ones must have checked out. The only brave people on YouTube are here. You know what I'm saying? The only brave people on YouTube are here. I think that there's been critical errors in this discussion. And those critical errors have been weaponized and utilized to create generations of mush-mind, weak-spined people. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Win Lose a Rug be posting the screen time. Bro, I should make standalone videos of those posts that you put in there of the of the responses of that Reddit. I got a question for everybody. Who built the United States? That's the question. Who's gonna come along for the fuck shit with me?
He going along with the fuck shit. Don't touch me! I'm about to change on your ass! I'll beat your ass with my elbows! Werewolf style!
Who's coming along for the fuck shit with me? Who built the United States? Somebody tell me. Say it loudly and proudly. Who built the United States? Because I got a question for those people, whoever they might be. Where the brave people at? Where the brave people at? Who built the United States? Oh man, it's all good. We got amnesia. It's all good. It's all good. Google it. We got anti-amnesia technology. Google it. Who built the United States? Now, if anybody else was asking this question, you know what I'm saying? It'd be all kind of answers in the chat. I guess that's the difference between being me and being anybody else. Okay. This is going to come back to haunt people. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Win Lose a Rug said MFs love talking about who built the country like it's a competition for who took the most abuse. Yeah, I would say you're onto something with that. I just got a couple questions. My first question would be, how'd it turn out? That's how'd it turn out? My parents built a house. And the interesting thing about my parents building the house is that they built a house to the specifications that they wanted for a house that was personalized to them. They picked the, wallpaper, they picked the paint, they picked the siding, they picked the roofing. Oh. What kind of stove was in there? What kind of tile? Linoleum? Porch, no porch, deck, no deck, right? Uh-oh. Shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions said the hardworking FBA people. My question is, why would you build a racist country? And how has that worked out for quote unquote us? Let me ask you guys this question. How many of you all would build a house and install gas leaks, water leaks, bare wires? Why would you build something like that? Here goes another question. How many people have ever seen those construction billboards or those construction posters as you're driving around? Anybody ever seen those? It'll say like Smith Construction and Company. Anybody ever seen those? When those companies build a building, or when those companies build a mall, it says Smith Construction Company on there. Now, here's my question. When you look at those buildings and when you look at the landmark, the sign that says who built those buildings, do you know anybody other than Smith? That was my man right there. That was James Orville over there. He built it. He was part of it too. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because people got to pick an argument. So my question is, what's the actual argument? Because if you say that you built something, then the person is going to say, well, why didn't you build it to your specifications? Because that's the first question that I'm going to ask you. Why didn't you build it to your specifications? And again, how many people don't build things to their specifications? Like who does that? Who doesn't? If you have you can build a combo meal. If you want to build a combo meal, do you not build a combo meal to your specifications? If you want a burger, curly fries, and a Dr. Pepper, and the place that you go to has build your combo meal, do you get chicken tenders, waffle fries, and lemonade? If you wanted a burger, regular fries, and a Dr. Pepper? No, you build to your specifications. So I want to ask you guys this question. What specifications is the United States built to? And who is the construction company? Now, again, why am I saying that? I'm saying that to say this. People need to pick an argument. So what's the argument? And again, people could fall out the chat and leave, whatever, if they want to. It's not going to be me that's going to be making you look dumb somewhere when you try to use these talking points against somebody that you may have an issue with. It's going to be you. I'm saying. These are the people that walk out of a self-defense class and wonder why they get beat up. In most cases, right? In most cases. It's common sense. Shout out to Chanel. What's good with it, Chanel? So again, right? We're just asking questions, right? And we're asking questions because Neely Fuller Jr. told us to. Who built the country? Who built the United States? Now, this provides two answers. The United States was built to specifications that were meant to provide certain advantages for certain people, or the United States was built by people who chose to build specifications that were installed to keep them at a certain level. So which one is it? Because again, like I said, when people make that statement and people make that argument, there's gonna be somebody that asks you, well, why didn't you build it to your specifications if you built it? That's a fair question, right? Shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions said there's a difference between building something willingly and building something under duress. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. Right? I wouldn't disagree with that at all. If you're building something under duress, here's my question. Are you actually building it by choice? Because again, where's the options that we could take and take advantage of those things? Shout out to Win, Lose, or Rug. That's what's good. They're going to be mad at me. They're going to come try to take my channel down, but we'll be ready for them. Right? We'll be ready for them. And again, here's the thing, right? The thing is that moving goalposts, double standards, and inconsistencies will catch people up all the time. All the time. So people need to choose an argument, right? People need to choose an argument. All the streets that people see, can anyone tell me who those people are that the streets are named after? It's just going to be, shout out to Win, Lose, or Roy. It's just going to be a bunch of name calling. You can post that part too. You know what I'm saying? It's just going to be a bunch of name calling. And again, you got to think about this, right? It's going to be a bunch of name calling based on asking a question. Just based on asking a question. Right? Now, my thing is, if there should be a dominating, quote unquote, head narrative, that domineering head narrative should have a 60-0 record. What's the record of the narrative? Is my question. What's the narrative? How many knockouts do the narrative have? How many times the narrative puts somebody on the mat? Somebody let me know how many times the narrative put somebody on the map. Just because people repeat something a million times doesn't make it effective. In some cases, it makes people wonder if you got Tourette's. So again, would people rather have effective arguments, or would people rather repeat feel-good talking points? That's my question. That's what everything is contingent on. And again, these aren't questions that I don't have any influence over this stuff. This is stuff that I'm opening up for discussion. You'd rather have me open it up than somebody else. Now, Laura Ingram says this. Now, let me ask you guys this question. The United States was quote unquote built, allegedly, right? Okay, it was built. Now, who made the blueprint? First of all, who made the blueprint? Second of all, who was the blueprint designed to service? Let it rip. Let me know. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Win Lose a Rug said they still asking why black people voted for Trump. Because some black people wanted to vote for Trump. We're not a monolith, but here goes why we're not a monolith, right? Again, double standards, moving goalposts, indecisiveness, inability to plant a flag, right? So, again, I think that's a legit question. So how the very people that say that we're not a monolith are the very people who attempt to establish and levy punishment and cancellation against people who don't do what they say. It doesn't make any sense. Somebody make that make sense. Carlton said white people made it a hot line, black people made it a hot song. Hey, Carlton said white people made it a hot line, black people made it a hot song. Oh man, Intuitively Wise, shout out to you, bro. Intuitively Wise says the denizen that live by the country rules in order to survive, which is a common instinct, were the people who built the country. What do you guys think about that? Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Win Lose a Rug said them ninjas be heavy with the passive aggression and ad hominem responses. That's because, it's all they're capable of. You know what I'm saying? Ask them to create a three-dimensional thought. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, W people created Carlton said, W people created the blueprint and Black Americans built the design. Now, here goes my question. I don't think people should have complied with building the country. I don't think that people should have complied with building the country. You know what I'm saying? But we're here. It's too late to go back and change anything. You know what I'm saying? We're here. But me personally, you know what I'm saying, I don't think people should have complied. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Alpha Male Pimp Network. What's good with it, bro? Alpha Male Pimp Network said, what's crapping, Rob? Not to get off topic, but thanks to you, I now realize the xenomorphs wasn't the problem. It's the humans. The xenomorph was only operating within their nature. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, the xenomorphs, right, they were just there, to be honest. Like, a lot of times the xenomorph hadn't even been developed yet. It was just, accelerant or black goo, right? Where people messed up was they put all the trust into those AI robots that Wayland Corporation made, and the AI robots that Wayland Corporation made wasn't really feeling people all like that. And then they started making value judgments, and they decided that the xenomorphs were a more efficient organism than humanity. So, then, what happened, right? Carlton must be on the other stream. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Carlton hiding. Carlton hiding. You know what I'm saying? He did a little bit of flight. You know what I'm saying? But again, my thing is this is for argument's purpose, right? So the reason why I'm asking this is because it could be somebody else asking that. And then so if somebody else is asking that, then what happens in the conversation? Conversation shut down. Conversation shut down. People don't want to see why they lose a lot of times. And it is what it is. If people can't see why they lose, it's going to be difficult for them to ever see how to win. And I want you guys to pay very close attention. We deal with people that have the emotional maturity of a chipmunk. So, good luck with that, right?
The country thinks Trump's a fascist. Now, for years and years, right up until present day, they have done everything they could to convince young people that ours is a racist, dangerous, evil country, and that we shouldn't be proud of it.
Now, I want to ask you guys this question. How many people have noticed this bipolar, proud to be American, not proud to be American situation, this identity confusion that has been fostered on social media? In one instance, you got a lot of people, like, we're proud to be American, like, yada, 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 right? You know what I'm talking about. And then in another instance, you got people, I hate this country. Shout out to Unsunken One. Which one? Who you talking about? Karen Bass. Shout out to AB. AB said, "Who's they? Who is we?" Right. There's a lot of people. Shout out to Carlton in them Twitter spaces that Carlton be watching. Right. The claim to fame, the claim to pride is the uniquely American aspect of their quote unquote ethnicity. So in that instance, that's an instance where people are quote unquote marginally proud to be an American, right? But then those very people, when the conversation shifts to other things, heavy American critique comes out. So again, in these situations, I got to ask myself, and I got to ask the people, which one is it? I don't like, the thing is like, people can't stay on a story. The story changes from day to day. I'm just asking which story are people using today, and which story are people going to stick with? You know what I'm saying? Which story are people going to stick with? I told you guys, man, there's like a political singularity going on, and it's very weird. Me personally, I don't like it. But it seems like the large majority of people can't see themselves getting sucked into the vortex of it. So, it is what it is. And I think a lot of people are beyond the event horizon, basically beyond the point of no return. Right? But I think it's fascinating, man. I think in 2025, a lot of quote unquote people like us have adopted weird Confederate ideologies and quote unquote wrapped them, personalized them. And I think it's bizarre. I think it's bizarre. All the popular talking points that people are repeating, I could show you where those came from. And I'm curious why people are saying those things. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says, the American black can only identify with America. It's our land and no other land will let you in without money. Now, here's my thing, right? What does that have to do with anything? That's my question. Like, that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I ain't mad at that, right? I'm not mad at the comment. But I'm just confused as to what it has to do with anything that we're dealing with right now. You know what I'm saying? I need to know what the consistent story is that everybody is going to choose to go with. That's what I want to know. Shout out to AB. AB said Twitter Spaces is a clown show. I agree. So now here's the thing, right? When it comes to this idea of quote unquote, this is our land. Okay, sure. Right. But here's the problem though. Just because you stand on some land doesn't make it quote unquote your land by ownership where you could utilize the capital from it. Right. I'm saying, like, I was born in a hospital. I can't sit there and say that the hospital is mine. I'm saying I was laid down in a incubator at the hospital, and I can't say that I lay claim to that incubator because I was laid in it. Like it just doesn't work, right? Now, here's okay. Shout out to okay. I appreciate you clearing that up. Intuitively Wise says that was concerning patriotism. Now, I don't understand the patriotism that people have. I don't understand it. First of all, the word patriot is an extension of paternal, right? So who are quote unquote your alleged founding fathers here in the United States that you patriotism to? I've heard people, even Dr. Claude Anderson, say quote unquote, we're the most patriotic. I've always argued, I don't know if that's a flex or not. I don't think that that's a flex. I don't think that that's a flex. Somebody could say that somebody that kisses ass at the job is the most, patriotic at the job. You know what I'm saying? This person always run and tell the boss. This person always fight the boss battles. Me personally, I don't respect those type of people. You know what I'm saying? I don't respect nobody that's a little gopher at work. I don't respect people like that. But somebody could look at that as like that's a form of patriotism. You loyal to the company. Okay, United States Corporation of America, you loyal to the company. I don't understand what the United States Corporation of America has done to earn people's loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Especially us. Now, as far as this quote unquote being quote unquote our land, how much of it do we own currently? Shout out to Tarek enforcing the likes. Throw some like enforcers in the chat. Shout out to Win Lose a Rug. Win Lose a Rug said people only half practice patriotism. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And I would say that's around the board, right? I would say that's around the board. That's the American yin yang, black white inconsistency. Shout out to Chanel. Chanel said Black Americans were forced to build it. I wouldn't disagree with that. So now, if there wasn't any input put into it by them, by us, right? It was just us, you know, following a blueprint that somebody else made, or else has anyone else ever built anything that's considered their building under that circumstance? Like if somebody had a pistol to your head and they took you to the car dealership and you had the intention on getting a Range Rover and somebody said, click on that Honda Civic right there. But I want the Honda Civic, but I want the Range Rover to be black. I'm gonna put a bullet in this if you don't click on that gray button. I want this Honda Civic to be gray. You're not really building it to your specifications. Now, my question is, where is a situation where the building has been considered the creation of the builders, and these builders were forced to create the structure under the instruction of other engineers? You know what I'm saying? Now, why am I saying that? Again, I'm asking the question because what happens when someone says, well, if you built it, why did you build something so harmful for yourself? How do you respond? How do you deal with that? And again, I want you to see, and this is what I'm saying. You don't want somebody like me. You don't want somebody else like me. As much as I'm unappreciated, y'all better be lucky that I'm on your side. Because if there was somebody like me that was not on your side, your best arguments that are celebrated online would get picked apart like roadkill by an army of vultures easily. Easy. I'm talking easy work, like Neo. You know what I'm saying? Looking at his hand while he blocking Agent Smith's best work. Easily. You know what I'm saying? Maybe one day people will encounter somebody like that. Sometimes the best lesson, in some cases, right? In some cases, the best lesson is a severe beatdown that takes a long time a lot of therapy and a long time to recover from. Sometimes that's necessary. And sometimes it's a test that can either crush a person, right? You see Ronda Rousey, she wasn't able to recover after Holly Holmes whooped that ass. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it'll make a person or make people better. The verdict's still out in this situation here. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says, America Black understands what America means to them. This is our country, and we're not going to give it away, I think. Who can give it away? First of all, who you going to give it to, and who's the person that would sign it away? Who's the person that would sign it away? Give it away to who? And is that a flex saying that America is our country? I don't know if it's a flex. I don't know if that is the hill that is really worth the possibility of dying on. You know what I'm saying? Who would we be, quote unquote, giving it to? And this is my question. What does it mean? America don't mean anything to me. You know what I'm saying? America don't mean anything to me. You know what I'm saying? I've seen too much of what America's done to past generations of my family for me to sit there and say America means anything nice for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about anybody else. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tarek. Tarek says, you're basically Bruce Willis from The Siege. If you ever seen that movie, Denzel is in it too. I'm going to have to check it out. Is it on Tubi? Shout out to Lunch. What's good with it, bro? Let me ask you guys this question. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says foreigners will take over and vote black out of the country. Maybe how? First and foremost, how would that happen? And second of all, for one, if this is the belief, if this is what people think, for one, why would black people sit back and let that happen? First question, right? Second question is, do you really think that white people would let foreigners take over their country? This whole Democrat Republican thing is going on over that. Look at all these European countries, Poland, you know what I'm saying, Ireland. They all having these immigration riots. People ain't going down easily with that. And that's before you get to the levels of society like where we at. Foreigners already took over. That's why it is the United States of America. Did people miss that part? Foreigners already took over. That's how it became the United States of America. Right? True or false? So what people should do, in my opinion, what people need to do, in my opinion, is gain market share and create something new, superior, and indestructible. And leave the past, quote unquote, glory alone. I think somebody said something like that. Who said that?
How many commencement addresses have begun with, I first want to say that we're living on stolen land? So annoying. And if the country is so intrinsically evil, then the law enforcement it deploys to protect that country must be evil as well, in the illogical, logical thinking. Well, that's what the squad wants you to think. Sitting members of Congress, like Congresswoman Jayapal, saying that ICE is lawless and acting like a terrorist force, that it's kidnapping people. And
now, let me ask you guys this question. What do you guys think about what she's saying about this? I don't know who this Jayapal lady is. I've seen her before. She got a strong face. Do you guys agree with what she's saying? ICE is acting like a terrorist force. She should know. She probably comes from somewhere where there's a lot of terrorists, so she has a clear example. People across the country of all legal statuses, including U.S. citizens, are being kidnapped and disappeared off the street by masked men. Is this true? Is this a true statement? No oversight, no accountability, completely lawlessness. True or false? Shout out to Leonard. Leonard said they voted for this. Bro, that's facts. If you guys agree with Leonard, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. Donald Trump is the democratically voted president of the United States. Through the democratic process, he won the election and was voted in president by many of these people who are quote unquote getting disappeared. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says it will take time. They are a foreigner, and one time Black were able to use law to keep them under control. What time was this? When? Where? Here in the United States? You gonna have to put some dates on that. When was this? And y'all can help me out too. If y'all when was this? And again, here's the thing. How active and how effective have people been in politics at the very least, let's say over the last 60 years, right? I wouldn't disagree with this. As a matter of fact, I would say that the opposite has occurred. I would say that that Black people for 60 years used the law to put politicians in place that facilitated mass immigration to the United States. So now, again, this is an instance where a non-customized circumstance was built, right? Harmful customizations were built by the engineer. Who voted in the Democrats for the last 60 years at an 80% rate? Let me know in the comment section. Those last 60 years of Democrats being voted in at 80%, did they lay the foundation for people like this to do what she's doing, to do what she's doing today? Now, we've dealt with anti-accountability culture for a very long time. And anytime any issue is discussed, it's always been taboo to even mention any contribution to the issue that there may have been some control on our part that we would have had. Which is absolutely anti-progress, because it's the controllable aspects that you should seek maximum and optimal control over. But yet, centralized government, centralized YouTube media, centralized influence tells you that if you talk about these things, something is wrong with you, while gaslighting you, saying things are exponentially improving over the years. Again, I need people to make this make sense to me. Make this make sense to everyone. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. How did that keep quote unquote foreign people quote unquote under control when it was foreign people who owned the plantations and set up Jim Crow and slavery? I don't understand this. It doesn't make any sense to me, bro. Again, fact check, right? European foreigners in the United States established the institution of slavery, and post-Civil War, generations later of those same people established Jim Crow and segregation, right? So now my question is, what laws were created to quote unquote curtail that prior to the civil rights amendments, the 14th, 15th, and 16th Amendment? I don't understand how that's possible. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says they were citizens. Right. They were citizens because they said that they were citizens. Right. They were citizens because they said that they were citizens. But in another argument, people will say, quote unquote, those people aren't, quote unquote, of the quote unquote land. So again, are we honoring the citizenship now or not? Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is, at the time when those laws that you were talking about were made, who were the migrants? I want to ask you this question. There were Irish and Italian and Eastern European migrants coming to the United States during those times. They came through Ellis Island in New York City. Laws were being made to restrict those people that were benefiting black people. What laws were those? This is during times when in part of the country, black people weren't even allowed to vote. So how'd they make any laws to quote unquote control anything? How'd that happen? This is what I'm saying. As much as people wish to have a great legacy, the best course of action is to lay a groundwork and a framework towards a future legacy. That's the best thing that people could do. People have been cherry picking history and going back in history forever. What is it? What has it done? What has it accomplished? This is my question. It's always my question. What has it accomplished? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Right. So it goes back to the original thing. What did black people have to do with that? They came over and got citizenship, and through that naturalization process, then they were naturalized as white Americans, regardless of whether they were immigrants or not. Right? There's qualifications, there's court cases behind this. One of the reasons why there's not any progress is because people are dishonest about history. And there's generations of historical pollution. And because of this historical pollution, people can't see through the fog. And when you can't see through the fog, you either have to progress very slowly or you stop to make sure that there's no further bumps in the road that you can't see. My question is, where are people at? Where are people at today? Where are people at today? Why do people vote for pro-crime culture? Why do people not talk in straight lines? Why are people intellectually dishonest? Shout out to Leonard. Leonard said, just take the money and self-deport. Yeah, facts. And they're going to get money when they go back to we saw how El Salvador was giving people money when they come back. Now, when it comes to all of these political means, all political means that most people talk about, that most people get hyped up on YouTube, all these political means all come down to a quote unquote negotiation. Now, here's my question. What's the leverage for the negotiation? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says history gives you an understanding of what is happening in the future. I would say accurate history gives you an understanding of what is happening in the present. Don't feel bad. A lot of us ain't the only ones that cherry pick. Britain literally has its flag all over the world where there's not white people at, and they're the very people that complain the most about diversity. How'd your flag get there? Complaining about diversity. So one thing that's unique to the human experience is that humans are liars, regardless of where they come from. They just lie about different things. what I'm saying? Just lie about different things. Let me ask you this question. Honestly, I don't think history gives a good understanding of what is happening in the present. If history gives such a good understanding of what's happening in the present, why are people still collecting dollars? All the stories about hyperinflation, all the devaluations, all the balance of payments crisis, all the recessions, all of the stock market crashes, all of these financial calamities that have happened all throughout the United States and throughout the world. Why are people still collecting dollars if people are such good students of history? People are not good students of history. People are not good students of anything. The one thing that people are good students of is replicating idiocy, stupidity, and low vibrational activity. That's the one thing that people are experts at. But when it comes to anything else, people ain't really competent at too much else. You know what I'm saying? No, they're not competent at too much else. People don't even follow their medical history properly. How many people do you know that got a family history of heart disease and breast cancer and they just sit around and suck down trans fats all day? You know what I'm saying? They don't even follow the simple history. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to DJ Elmo. What's good with it, bro? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says, I like history. It tells you who you're connected to. Now, what benefit has that done? And again, only accurate history tells you that. The best way to know who you're connected to is to keep an accurate family tree. Right? But what benefit does being connected to anybody have? If you ask me, I don't necessarily know if the quote unquote connections that a lot of us have are of any value. What value are they of? The best value of knowing who you're connected to is you need to know if you're the beneficiary of any life insurance policies. Aside from that, where's the benefit? How does it help? Shout out to, that's the question. Shout out to Tark. I'm not mad at that question. Tark says, so what are you lying about, Rob? Just messing. I always ask the question. I asked that question. What am I lying about? People want lies. You know what I'm saying, if I was a liar, man, I have so many more people in here. That's the problem, that I'm not. That's the problem. People love a lie and they hate the truth. You know what I'm saying? People love a lie and people hate the truth. You know what I'm saying? How does it tell you anything globally? And again, what resources can you gain globally? So let's say, for instance, you know somebody somewhere across the globe. How is that moving commerce for you? Do people across the globe send you any Bitcoin? You doing any business with them? Like, how does that help anything? It doesn't help. I'm not gonna lie to you. In most cases, I'd rather shout out to I'm gonna have my blue pill moment right now. Shout out to Cypher. Because of the compilation of history that I'm aware of, I'd rather eat the steak and go back into the Matrix. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to DJ Elmo. DJ Elmo said, after one generation, 50 to 100 years, you are forgotten about. No one will hardly visit your grave. Yeah, some worms will come visit you. That's about that's about it. So some tree roots might find you and some worms might come visit you, but that's about as good as it's gonna get. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, yeah, I remember Essence. Shout out to Prime. I remember Essence. Carlton said Bitcoin was the shining light of truth, that people didn't want their money situation to change. Yeah. And here we are now. People don't want anything to change, let alone their money situation. I'm telling you, I'm really convinced that life is a highly technological virtual reality video game that's operating on top of something else. You know what I'm saying? Some type of interactive, like Fortnite type shit that's just more advanced than what we're aware of. Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Now, here's what there's no evidence of people learning anything from history. What's the evidence? Through history and what may come in the future to plan. No one cares about the future. You tell people about the future, they reject it. Come on, Intuitively Wise. You act like I'm not a YouTuber. No one cares about the future. No one cares about the future. Everybody say it with me. No one cares about the future. No one cares about the future. What's going on in the future that anybody cares about? Artificial intelligence is about to take people's jobs. What is anybody doing about it? The financial system has probably got another 20 years left. What's anybody doing about it? There's about to be a shortage of water. What's anybody doing about it? There's about to be a shortage of organic green food. What's anybody doing about it? Carbon emissions are at an all-time high. What's anybody doing about it? Nobody gives a shit about any of this shit. You know what people care about? People care about if Nas is going to respond to Jim Jones or not. Well, history would tell you that Nas don't really respond to people all like that. But again, even in the dumb realms, people don't pay attention to history. Right? No one pays attention to history. Don't matter if it's hip-hop. Don't matter if it's politics. Don't matter if it's finance. Don't matter if it's anything. The human Fibonacci retracement of behavior constraints shows that people do not learn from history. You know what I'm saying? That's wild. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said no one cares. I was watching the streamer last night. When he started talking about investing, his chat numbers dropped to 2 people. Why did that happen? Shout out to everybody in the chat. I need everyone in the chat to explain to me why that happened. Who is the streamer? I'll watch them. Do they talk about good investments? If as long as they talk about good investments coherently, I'll definitely support that streamer and go watch their streams. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Intuitively Wise. Intuitively Wise says, well, nothing else to say if the world is lost. Well, let's say that. Where is the world? Right? In order for something to not be lost, we have to locate it, right? Where is the world? Where is it? Can anybody tell me the location of the world? Oh man, shout out to AB Promotions. AB Promotions says, so do you think in this game we are regenerated? To me, it would be a possibility if that's the case. I don't know where. I don't think that the data would ever be lost. Right? I don't think that the data. This is why I asked the question with machine theory: can information be created or destroyed? You know what I'm saying? In the computer of the universe, the data is in the form of hydrogen ions. The data is in the form of quarks. Right? The data is in the form of small molecules, the different numerical and three-dimensional orientations of them. Right? Like a hydrogen molecule is like a reality megabyte, right? So, you know, you got to ask that question. Shout out to AB. AB said, I don't care about carbon emissions. I love my V8, my V8 vehicles. I love my V8 juice. Spicy. You know what I'm saying? That make the best Bloody Marys. Oh man. Come on, man. People don't love history. Admit it. Admit it. The only reason people love history is because when they need a little bit of an ego rush. They don't love history for any other forms or any other formats or anything like that. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, yeah, he talks about a little of everything. He has some different takes at times, and some people may consider him off code. Oh, he must critique things. He goes by just a contrarian. I think I might have seen some of his videos before. I wouldn't disagree with that. If you guys agree with DJ Elmo, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. DJ Elmo said, Blacklight, why most repeat bad behaviors? Because most people have an external locus of control and cognitive dissonance. One of the reasons why people have an issue with Bitcoin is because Bitcoin requires discipline. Bitcoin requires you to buy money. You can't put it in the bank. You have to hold it yourself. And regardless of whether things look good at the moment or things look bad at the moment, you have to continue to buy and continue to buy and continue to buy. But the reason why people fail with Bitcoin is because of the self-custody aspect. And the self-custody aspect is actually built in order to protect you from the government. But it proves that people do not need protection. People need control. The self-custody element of Bitcoin is actually made to protect you from government seizure. But the self-custody aspect in a society where people have no impulse control is to the detriment of the person that holds the asset. It's irony at its finest. The one thing that was meant to free people is the thing that'll keep people in prison. People need to admit it. Admit it. People need to admit that humanity is devolving into a lower life form. Some faster than others. You know who cares about history? Artificial intelligence. Machine learning is not possible without accurate historical records and databases. Humans can actually learn faster than machine learnings. Where do you see that applied at? Shout out to Carlton. Carlton just gave the evidence. Somebody starts talking about investing. People leave the chat only to go somewhere else to say how broke they are. And also to say how they'll leave the chat to go to another chat to agree with people in that chat that, quote unquote, no one babied them through investments. When people say somebody didn't tell us, somebody didn't show us, somebody didn't yada, 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 what that means is that somebody didn't coddle me. Somebody didn't put me in a swaddling cloth like a little child and rock me back and forth and put a little Bitcoin in my bib and feed me a bottle and lay me in the bed with my lammy and rock it to sleep. That's what that means. That's what that means. People talk about, dog whistles and code and all that. Well, that's the code right there. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shout out to speaking of the liquidity, shout out to the liquidity. Shout out to DJ Elmo. DJ Elmo said, carbon emissions agenda by World Economic Forum. What if we humans are the carbon emissions they want to get rid of, but deceive us about its climate change? They didn't deceive anybody because they literally said that the population needs to decrease. We emit carbon, right? So you guys remember when that TED Talk happened and Bill Gates talked about that a long time ago, and they had all the factors that lead to increased carbon emissions. One of the factors that it contribute to carbon emissions was increased people because we exhale carbon dioxide, right? So listen, the elites are some of the most honest people in the world. The population is some of the most dishonest people in the world. The elites told you you will own nothing and you will like it. People will act like they got tricked. Nobody did. I mean, they literally just told you that. We need to decrease some of the population because there's too much carbon dioxide. The elites told you that. Let me ask you guys this question. What have the elites ever lied about? The elites are some of the most honest people in the world. It's just that they're talking to lemmings. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Brooklyn Queen, supporting the liquidity. I appreciate you, Brooklyn Queen. Make sure y'all show Brooklyn Queen some love. Throw some flames, some radiation emoji, and some ducks in the chat for Brooklyn Queen, trying to make your boy great.
How do you think that we fund this organization, huh? We're not exactly the march of dimes.
Shout out to Alpha Male Pimp Network. Alpha Male Pimp Network says, well, if it's true, humanity is de-evolving, it's time to bring on the face huggers. Hey. I would actually say it's time for humanity to evolve. Right? That would be my thing, right? For me, I would say, well, it's time for humanity to evolve. It's time for humanity to show our utility, right? That would be my thing. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Tarek. Tarek said, until your previous live stream, I didn't know anyone was beefing with Nas. So there's that. You know, somebody's always trying to clout chase. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, people always trying to clout chase. You got Jim Jones clout chasing.
Including American citizens, it's not only defamatory, it's deeply dangerous.
And shout out to everybody watching, man. I really appreciate each and every one of you. If you guys have not smashed that like button yet, please do me a favor. Take a moment. Smash that like button. Also, if you guys haven't hit the bell, please take a moment, hit that bell. And also, please share the stream to your social media.
Why? Well, because what would you do if a terrorist is kidnapping people on American soil? You would stop him, wouldn't you? By any means necessary. We saw this with not one, but two assassination attempts on Donald Trump. And while we still know precious little about those shooters, Thomas Crooks and Ryan Roth, we know the unprecedented level of hate and the lies that have been directed at Trump and his supporters for over a decade. They're hanging out there. And unstable people, they take it all as gospel. Even otherwise reasonable people, if they're led to believe by trusted news and political sources that Trump is truly evil and that he's truly a fascist country.
Now, I don't believe in good and evil, right? You guys know about that whole thing, right? Now, this is interesting, right? Hey, I appreciate you, Lunch. No problem, bro. Now, again, we got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. And again, you have to dive deep into the question and ask yourself the question, right? And let's actually ask the question. Quote unquote. This is my question for everybody. Where are people at politically? What are people's political objectives? I've said this and I've criticized this for a long time. There's no political objectives without organization. And in the current state, there is minimal organization. Now, if this is not true, right? If this is incorrect, again, what are the current political objectives? Somebody let me know.
Then isn't armed rebellion the only answer? That deranged individual wearing full tactical gear who tried to ambush the Border Patrol today in McAllen, Texas? Yeah, apparently thought so. Now, this is what Democrats knew would happen. They knew it, and yet they never tamped down the rhetoric. Not after city blocks were burned during the Floyd riots. Not after the Trump assassination attempts. Instead, they kept spewing the same lies, encouraging confrontations with law enforcement.
Some of the most inspiring things have been when people encircle courtrooms and refuse to allow ICE agents in. There are all kinds of nonviolent resistance tactics that we have to use.
She throws in the nonviolent go as cover, but we know that she knows what she's doing. Democrats' choice of language, though, is deliberate. Listen closely, and it's important.
Masked agents of the state in unmarked vehicles are terrorizing communities. They are disappearing people.
That's the stuff of authoritarian states. The combination of these Gestapo-like tactics.
This is actually
now, again. You would. Why is there so many black people? Right. They got me sitting up here asking the same question that a white person that just bought a house in a high-end neighborhood would ask. Why is there so many black people? You got Simone Sanders right there. You got Pencil Neck right there. I don't know who this lady is right here. Who is this lady? What's going on here? None of these people are affected by this political issue. This one here is. You know what I'm saying? This one here is. Right? But again, I need people to explain this. Shout out to Carlton. Yeah, we don't get answers. Why don't we get answers?
Language, though, is deliberate. Listen closely, and it's coordinated.
Masked agents of the state in unmarked vehicles are terrorizing communities. They are disappearing people.
That's the stuff of authoritarian states. The combination of these Gestapo-like tactics.
This is actually about Donald Trump building modern day concentration camps in an.
Come on, man. Nobody got any comments about this? Me and Carlton been asking questions. People can only take so much. They can only take so much. Shout out to Leonard. They can only take so much. You know what I'm saying? We got to take it easy on them. They can only take so much. What is this? I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Effort to disappear people from our communities.
I like to.
Who is anybody that's disappearing from her community? That lady there. She said somebody disappearing some people from her community. Who's disappearing by her community? Shout out to Leonard. Leonard said the new rumor is they found bodies in the ocean with shackles on. Hey, that's what Genuine and Nas said. I got shackles on my feet. I said you owe me something. Oh, hold me down like I crossed the border. Hold me down like I'm out of order. Hold me down, not no Trump supporter. They found me in the ocean. They found me in the ocean with some shackles on my feet because I owed them papers. Yeah. Owe them papers like I skipped the rent. Owe them papers like the bill got spent. Over the border I went. Yeah, it was the song. Shout out to AB. That song, I'm about to listen to that when I get done with this. You know what I'm saying? I'm straight. Hey, every time I get done with the stream, I update my playlist. Like, yo, man, that shit was fire. You know what I'm saying? Hey, the Street Dreams. Hey, listen, man. The Street Dreams remix with R. Kelly was lit too. You know what I'm saying? But even back then, I knew something was wrong with R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying? Knew something was wrong with that fool. Shout out to Carlton. Carlton said, where's the Hispanic or Asian Al Sharpton to speak up? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Believe it or not, they're probably in an underground bunker. You know what I'm saying? They're probably in an underground bunker, to be honest with you. Let me see. Hold on real quick. I'm about to. They busy. You know what I'm saying? They busy doing stuff. They ain't got time for this. They in these underground bunkers holding it. They in these underground bunkers holding it down. See this here? See this here? FBI received intel about underground Chinese bases in America. So that's probably where they at, Carlton. Hey, that's probably where they at, Carlton. The FBI has declassified internal records about possible Chinese election interference in 2020. Uh-oh. Buried in those documents is perhaps even more explosive allegations that the Chinese Communist Party has underground bases in the United States. Where they at? Where them bases at? The newly declassified but still heavily redacted records were released Tuesday by Senator Chuck Grassley, who's been investigating the matter. Grassley previously revealed that the FBI received a tip from an informant in 2020 that China may have shipped tens of thousands of pro-Biden fraudulent mail-in votes, but that FBI headquarters squashed the investigation. How many people heard about that? If y'all heard about that, give me a thumbs up. If y'all didn't, give me a thumbs down. No one in the room is a hot joint. Yeah, bro, facts. Nas got a catalog, man. Nas got a catalog. Why did the FBI end this investigation? Probably because they had a bunch of Biden votes. They was like, yeah, we gonna take these. They said, we're gonna take these and we're gonna use these. Right. Shout out to Carlton. If you guys agree with Carlton, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down. Carlton said underground bases and buying major water resources in the United States. China making moves, bro. China making big moves. China making big moves. This lady looks crazy. Let's get back to what we was talking about. I was thinking about doing a video about that, where, you know, talking about that, but then I was like, nah. I'm saying. I was like, nah. Maybe I will, though. Maybe I will. Let me know what y'all think. Should I? Let me know if I should or if I shouldn't.
About Donald Trump building modern day concentration camps in an effort to disappear people from our communities.
I like to disappear your lies.
Hey, man, Laura Ingraham be cracking me up sometimes. Laura Ingraham be cracking me the hell up, man. She funny as hell.
And of course, the legacy media, they're always in sync with the Democrats, of course, portraying ICE as criminals who need to be punished and the illegals as victims who need to be protected. CNN even promoted a nifty little app that acts as an early warning system for illegals who are trying to evade capture.
You open the app, it looks like a map, and users can tap the map to report an ICE sighting in their area. And then everybody who uses the platform within 5 miles of that sighting will get a push alert.
Facilitating criminality, aiding and abetting criminals.
Hey, see, I want you guys to pay very close attention. No one was talking about the Democrats in that way with this whole pro-crime culture and yada, 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 right? No one was doing that. Let me, again, I want to ask you guys a question. Who was doing that? Who was making the parallels between Democrats and pro-criminals? If only what? If only what? if only what? You know what? If only what? You know what? Carlton know what? What?
That's how much they loathe the United States. The radicals are clearly calling the shots here, literally. Axios talked to a number of Democrats and is now reporting that, quote, the grassroots wants more. Some of them have suggested what we really need to do is be willing to get shot when visiting ICE facilities or federal agencies.
That sounds crazy. What we really need to do is be willing to get shot is wild. Yeah, man. Hey, how many of y'all willing to get, a hot lead massage going to an ICE agency? Not me. I'm good on it. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? You can. Yeah, buddy, I'm good on that one. What about you guys? Is anybody else good on that? I'm big good on that. Some of them have suggested, see, what we really need, you're not about this life if you ain't ready to take one for the team. Yeah, I'm good on that. I'm not taking one for the team.
A House Democrat told Axios, be willing to get shot. This is insane, people. They now want martyrs.
Right. Shout out to AB. I'm all right. Right. Yeah. I'm all right. You know what I'm saying? Keep that over there. Shout out to Windless Rug. Literally couldn't pay me. Bro, facts. You could not pay me. Sounds like the criminals they protect. Sounds like a gang initiation, doesn't it? You ain't about this Democrat life. You got to get shot. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I'm good on it, bro. I'm all right. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for the offer. I politely decline.
Martyrs for open borders. Martyrs to abolish ICE. They're total fanatics. And even when they don't call for violence, they know that the logical reaction to what they're alleging is violence. It's a twisted, dangerous game. So when will this end? Where's the adult in the room urging Democrats to tamp down the rhetoric, stick to arguing policy? Where are the liberal wise men waving off the activists harassing ICE officers? It's only a matter of time before someone else gets killed. And Democrats will then try to use aha, we told you so. The truth is, only a catastrophic series of political losses is going to convince Democrats to stop this. But as for President Trump, we've been hearing some rumors that establishment types are pushing him hard to cut some Bush-like amnesty deal for the illegals that remain here. Now, you can imagine rich donors in places like LA, right, are calling President Trump, burning up the phone lines because they need to hire new housekeepers or landscapers. They don't want to have to do that. They want to keep their old landscapers and housekeepers. But most of those donors were Jeb Bush supporters in 2016.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
So, yeah, they kind of cut Laura Ingraham off in the middle of her rant. You know what I'm saying? I'm not exactly sure where she was going with that last part. But, yeah, we're about to take a look at this real quick. Shout out to Shatera. What's good with it, Shatera? We're about to take a look at this real quick because this is just, like I said, man, it's just getting to be too much. It's just getting to be too much. 27-year-old active shooter killed after ambushing Border Patrol agents in Texas. He was one of them ones that was willing to take a bullet. He was one of them ones that would take a bullet.
After opening fire at a Border Patrol facility and shooting a police officer. Authorities say 27-year-old Ryan Mosqueda ambushed the facility in McAllen, Texas yesterday morning. He shot dozens of rounds at the building before federal agents were able to shoot and kill him. A Border Patrol employee and at least 2 officers were injured, including McAllen officer Ishmael Garcia, who was shot in the knee. The Border Patrol chief called out.
Hey, there you go. Win, lose the rug. Ishmael Garcia. That's what we was talking about that one stream.
Ishmael Garcia.
There it is. There it is.
2 officers were injured, including McAllen officer Ishmael Garcia, who was shot in the knee. The Border Patrol chief called out Democratic lawmakers he says are putting border agents at risk.
They're not just putting law enforcement in danger, they're putting civilians in danger too, because when they encourage these civilians to rise up and act like this, they're going up against highly trained law enforcement officers, and they're going to find themselves in the same situation that this gentleman found himself in this morning.
Mosqueda was from Michigan and living in Texas. Law enforcement found more firearms and ammunition in his car parked outside the facility.
So I don't know what he thought he was about to do. What y'all think he thought? What y'all think he thought he was going to do? He thought he was about to do something crazy. So I guess this is like the 3rd planned ambush. Then there was like 11 people charged in this ambush on an ICE detention center. Did anybody hear about this? Now, you know. Hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. Sometimes these local news people be wilding, like. These local news people be on some other stuff. All right, there we go. Yeah, they crashing out. They crashing out big time. Crashing out all over the place. Not pumping the brakes, not doing none of that. They got the car in 3rd gear with the pedal to the metal, going straight into a telephone pole.
Federal authorities provided new details about an ambush attack on officers at an immigration detention facility in North Texas. A police officer was shot in the neck outside the detention center in Alvarado Friday. Fox 4's Amelia Jones in studio with the latest tonight. Amelia.
Clarice, the Alvarado police officer who was shot is expected to recover. The Department of Justice says this marks the 5th assault on law enforcement officers in the Northern Texas district this year. Nearly a dozen people are now facing multiple federal charges.
Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
Monday, the Department of Justice shared new details on a shooting at the Prairie Land Detention Center in Alvarado, south of Fort Worth.
Hey, them eyebrows are wild. That lady look like Morticia Adams. If y'all agree, them eyebrows are wild, and that lady looks like Morticia Adams, give me a thumbs up. If y'all disagree, give me a thumbs down.
Officials say around 10:30 p.m. on July 4th, a group of 10 to 12 people dressed in black military-style clothing shot off fireworks and vandalized the facility.
They engaged in the graffiti, they damaged vehicles and a guard structure. The graffiti had such words as traitor, ice pig, other profanity.
Officials say this was a ruse to draw out the ICE personnel, and it...
Ice pig. Hey, what's an ice pig though? Hey, them people, they must feel the same way about law enforcement as I do. Whoever called them ice pigs, they must have the same type of sentiments toward law enforcement that I got.
Worked. 2 unarmed corrections officers went to speak with the vandals. Meanwhile, the group signaled a gunman nearby. Alvarado police responded to a 911 call at the facility. When the officer got there, he was shot in the neck, and another assailant fired 20 to 30 rounds at the unarmed corrections officers. When the suspects fled the scene, the Johnson County Sheriff...
Can I ask why the corrections officers were unarmed? Is that fair? Is that a fair question for me to ask? Is there anybody that could tell me why the corrections officers were unarmed? Probably not the best situation, right? Probably not the best.
Sheriff's office stopped a vehicle leaving the detention center.
There was a single driver in that vehicle. The sheriff deputy saw in plain sight a firearm. Another firearm was in the back seat, and there were 2 Kevlar ballistic style vests also in that vehicle.
According to court documents.
Shout out to Ronnie. Ronnie said he got the answer. Give it to us, Ronnie. Why was they unarmed? Let us know.
This driver told the sheriff deputy he met some people online and took them from Dallas to the detention center to, quote, make some noise. On the detention center property, sheriff deputy stopped 7 individuals near where the Alvarado police officer was shot.
Some were wearing body armor, some were covered in mud, some were armed, and some had 2-way radios on them.
When authorities searched the area, they found more body armor, spray paint, and flyers with anti-ICE messaging.
Over the course of the weekend, additional related searches occurred. We found masks, goggles, tactical gloves. We've one residence of one of the defendants. There was additional body armor. There was a cache of 9 additional weapons, spray paint, fireworks, and again, insurrectionist material.
The Department of Justice charged the 10 suspects with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer and 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. An additional co-conspirator is charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack. He faces up to 10 years in prison.
This will not be tolerated. Those who use violence against law enforcement officers will be found and they will be prosecuted with the toughest criminal statutes and penalties that we have available to us.
Court documents show that 9 of the people arrested were from North Texas, Dallas, Fort Worth, Kennedale, and Waxahachie. The other was from College Station. The 10 each face a mandatory prison sentence of up to 10 years to life in prison.
Woo! Was it worth it? Was it worth it? It's your from an Remember that? Was it worth it? It's your from an whatever the hell Missy said. So yeah, man, are we doing this tomorrow or no? Let me know in the chat. We doing undocumented tomorrow? If we doing undocumented tomorrow, give me a thumbs up or throw some membership emojis in the chat. If we not, give me a thumbs down and we'll do something else. All right. Shout out to the stream sponsors, man. Make sure y'all show these people some love because without the stream sponsors, y'all already know ain't no streams. Shout out to my man, Detroit 313. I appreciate it, bro. Shout out to Brooklyn Queen. I definitely appreciate it. So let me know. Leave a comment after the stream. If y'all haven't hit the like button yet, do me a favor. Take a moment, hit that like button. If y'all haven't shared the stream to your social media, make sure y'all share the stream to your social media. Shout out to Alonda. Shout out to the replay gang. And as always, ladies and gentlemen,